So hi guys, this is going to be 61, 62 and 63, and I said I said I was only going to do 2 episodes at a time. But 62 and 63 look pretty much identical and not too long, so we're going to attempt to do a dub triple episode, and I'm actually fairly excited about this one because there is one piece that we get in this first issue that I've been waiting eagerly for quite a long time, but it makes sense why we get it now.
I've pounded the road from coast to coast, Yorkie and me rolling on. 'Cause a long day's run can be short on fun without Yorkie to help me along.
Okay, so these are the parts that I've just dumped out onto the onto my cloth, and we'll go through them. So we have 6101 and 6102, which are hubcaps. Now it says, I think these are the same, but they've got a little magnet in them, which is a nice little touch, I think. Right, so piece 3, 61.3, is called a steering connector, and that looks like that's it. It looks a little bit like one of those valves that we put on earlier, and I can't tell if that's, I think it's plastic, but it's quite weighty. You could be forgiven for thinking that's metal. Right, now 4 and 5 are the front, left and right wheel fixings. One's marked R and one is marked L. There we are. This is the one that's marked R. So this is piece number 4 and this is piece number 5. You can see why I'm a little bit, not sure what it is. Now for the piece I've been waiting for. This is the front right wheel trim. If you remember when we did the front wheels, the first wheel that we did, it looks like this, and the second wheel that we did, it doesn't have that ring. Now I'm assuming the reason we've got this later on is because it's a marker, and it does say front right wheel trim, so it's quite specific. Now in real life, I don't think it makes any difference whether you put the wheels on that way or that way, but this is a model, so it might make a difference. So I've got my wheel ready, and there is the trim. So 7 and 8 are the same. Sorry, 7 and 9 backing plates are the same. So that's these. So this is piece 7 and 9, and then pieces 8 and 9. Right, it's made a mistake on the instructions. It says 7 and 8 and 9 are the same, and 8 and 9 are the same, but I think it means 8 and 10 are the same. But these are the brake drums, and so that'll be 8 and 10. Then we have some pins which are 18mm long. We've seen these before, but not these ones. And then we've got some DD05 screws, which are these, and we've got some DD04 screws. So let's have a crack on. So we need to check how the steering connector fits on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right. This is the one that's labelled L. So we need to see how that fits. So we're going to hold it this way. So you see you've got 3 holes there, and one of the holes is slightly bigger, and you've got 2 holes and a pin there. So that's going to go in. It's a little bit, no, that's gone in fine. That's lovely. Right, and then what we want to do is we want to take our DD05 screws, which are these very small screws, and we want to screw that in. So I'm going to have to change my screwdriver head because they're very small screws. And I'm going to pop one in just enough to hold, this screwdriver is at risk of being slightly too fat. Can you see how it's a little bit too fat there? But we'll see how we manage. That doesn't want to go in easily, so I'm just going to pop the second screw in. I'm going to switch screwdrivers to something a little bit skinnier, otherwise I'm going to run the risk of screwing these screws in at an angle, and we could end up with problems then. So let's have a little look what I've got. Let's find an old part work. There we go. So I'm using a screwdriver with a thin shaft, and then we're going to screw that in. That's going in nice. It's going in nice and straight. And what I'm actually doing, just to be a bit different, I'm not screwing one screw in all the way. I'm screwing maybe 25% on one, and then 50% on the next, and up to 75% on the first one, and then all the way on the last one. So they're kind of going like that. Oh, kitten just climbing up my leg, and she does use her claws to climb. It's not going in quite as nice as I'd like, but this is the problem with giving us red parts and then attaching them with silver screws. That screwdriver is just slightly too big. It's a little bit hard to find the head right. I'm just going to finish this, and I'm just going to move the kitten. This is it's such a wonderful thing having a couple of pets in the house, but you can see there's a drawback. Right, so that's in. So sorry, Missy. You would think the number of times I put you on the floor, you would get the hang of this by now. Right, so that's in. We need to take the axle assembly from issue 60. You won't give it up, are you? Now I can see that it's this way round, because I can see that this is going to be away from me, and this is going to go on like this. So what you want is you want a peg, which I assume is where the wheel's going to go. That's going to be pointing forwards, and then you've got this piece there is that's obviously where the steering's going to go, and then you've got this bit. I say obviously, it might not be obvious, and that's going to go in with a pin. See, the pin's going to go through there. So what we're going to do is we will get this roughly as good as we can. We're going to just pop the pin in the top, but not so it's showing through the other side. And then I think it's only going to be fiddly until you get the pin through. There we go, part way. Ow, ow. And then push that as far as we can with a finger. Actually, I can get that all the way in. That's very loose, but that's quite handy, because I'm confident I've got that correct. But if it turns out it's not correct, it's loose enough that I can pull that out. But that's that bit done anyway. And then what we want to do is do the same with the other side, but we're not putting anything on the end there, which I think is just ever so slightly strange. Right, so we want this up and out. Let's get this how it was. There we go. So I've now arranged these so that they're identical, but you see you've not got this bit there, unless that's to do with the steering, and you only need the steering on one side. So I'm going to get these lined up, pop the pin in, and that's gone in with my finger again, so that's absolutely fine. Right, so what we want next is we want to put these pieces on. Now, so it's now positioning the part like this, and it wants it all the way back like that. And what we're going to do is, I'm not sure about the orientation. I think we want the inside of the disc with a number to be upright, and that's going to go in. Now there's two holes, one is a pin and one is a screw hole. Right, so can you see there's two holes there either side of the big hole? One's got a recess and one hasn't. I would suggest that the hole with the recess wants to go over there, the screw hole, not the pin, like so, because then it's just going to hold. And if you do it the other way, it doesn't even fit so well actually. There we go, and that's in. And then we are going to drive a DD04 screw into there. So I'm going to get both of them out. There's 3 screws in total, but obviously we only need 2. So pop that screw in there, and that's the brake done. And that's obviously the head from a previous screw, which was much smaller. Careful how you hold this, because you've got a metal piece and a plastic piece, and this drum is plastic, and if you're holding it hard you could easily snap pieces off. Right, that's in. So now we want to do the other side absolutely identically. So we're going to hold, see that's got different numbers on it. Right, so recess at the bottom. That's gone in. Should have got my screw ready, shouldn't I, on my screwdriver, but never mind. I would like to say I'll learn, but I never do. Whoops. It's very tricky to hold. Right, so keep making sure that's lined up with that pin. The pin will go through that hole. Once you've got the screw in a certain amount, will just hold itself in, no problems. Right, so that's on there solid. Lovely. So then that is not it. That is, this shows the 2 brake backing plates. So now we want to take our wheel from a previous issue. It's telling us issue 10. And we want to place this on now. It's a little bit confusing to look at. There's 4 holes in there and there's 4 pegs. And all we want to do is line the pegs up. And I can't remember if there's a unique way to do this. I think there is. Now, this has got shaped pegs, but the holes look round. So that's lining up okay. Right. So if you've got it lined up, I don't know if that's going to fit anyway, but if you've got it in right, you're going to be able to see the nuts on the wheels through each of the holes. So that's that done. Then we want to turn it over, and we want to take a brake drum, and that's going to be, these 4 pegs are going to line up in there. And I would suggest this might be a little bit trickier. I thought it was going to be trickier than we thought. But that's in. That is in. And then we want to take the wheel from step 1. No. This is from a previous issue, but I can't remember what issue it's from. We're going to do the same to this. And yeah, once you line one hole up, it's actually not too bad. So let's have a look at this, because one of the issues I found with the Routemaster is these wheels didn't go on very steady, but these actually seem okay. They seem fine. So bit of a cheat, guys. That's what they're going to look like when the wheels are on. These are obviously the front wheels, aren't they? So there we go. Now we're not fitting the wheels. This is what we're left with from this issue. And I think we're going to put that to one side for a bit, because we're now going to move on to issue 62. So 2 fiddly bits to keep safe. Let's see if they fit in there nicely. Not really, so don't put them inside your wheel. Okay, so issue 62 is the front left suspension, and as you can see, look, 62 and 63 look pretty much the same. So we just check the instruction numbers. Now, I had a pair of scissors earlier and they seem to have disappeared, and I keep doing this because I had a knife. Here we are. I had a knife and that disappeared, and then I got these scissors, and then I actually bought 2 pairs of scissors. I got these from Poundland, but because I keep losing scissors, I've actually got one on a piece of string, and I've tied the other, I'll tape the other piece of string inside the drawer. There's enough tape that I can get lots of reach, but it means that I can't take them anywhere. Right, so we have got the front left leaf spring. Now these are actually really fascinating. What these are in real life are just sheets of metal, and they kind of bend, and that's how the suspension is. Obviously these are plastic, but it's, you know, I don't understand the science of it, but you know, you embrace the science. It's brilliant, just lots of layers of metal, and then they just kind of move together, and it's really interesting how it could work. Now the orientation that they've got on the parts list is this way, and it does have a little L on it, which is nice. So I'm going to put an L up. Then we've got front left shock absorber piston. Then we've got 4 DPO 6s, which are tiny screws, and we've got 2 PWM screws, which are washer screws, top hat screws, however you want to call them. Okay, and instructions look more complicated than it probably is. Right, so we want to take the front axle assembly from the previous issue, identify the 4 fixing points on the left anti-sway bar holder. Note that one hole is slightly larger than the others, so this hole there is being pointed at with an arrow. That should be slightly larger than the others. So next we want to take the corresponding fixing points on the left leaf spring. The peg fits into the larger hole. There we are. So we've got 3 screws and we've got 1 peg. That peg wants to go into the larger hole. Now the larger hole is there, the peg is there, so therefore it has to go that way. Okay, and then turn the assembly over, fix the leaf spring in place with 3 DPO6 screws, and these are tiny screws. You would think they would be bigger for something of that size, but you know how these part works go. So what I'm going to do, I've lost, here we are. Right, I'm going to start with the opposite, diagonal opposite of where the peg is, and that will kind of give us 2 fixing points then and hold it in place. And I'm actually going to push that in all the way. Right, that's quite interesting because I screwed I don't know if it's the screwdriver or the quality of the parts, but I was screwing that in and it didn't really seem to give much resistance, and then all of a sudden it gave lots of resistance where it's come to the end. So whether that's because I've got a good screwdriver that's made it effortless, which I doubt very much because I got this from a part work, or if it was just the way the plastic is. Okay. That's almost in. Oh, that one I might have just overscrewed. No, it hasn't gone in enough yet. No, I think that one has been. Yeah, that's been. I think that's threaded it, but that's fine because it's got, again, we've got 3 screws where 2 is probably enough. Right, so that's what we've got so far. Right, then we need to turn the assembly over so that it's going to look like this, and fix the leaf spring in place with the light. That's what we've just done. Fit the eyelet on the piston into the sway bar holder, so that's going to go there. Now, is there a left and a right? I don't know, but what I do know is that this is a top hat screw, so that means that it's going to hold that in place. So you've got the actual screw go through the middle to fix the screw in, but because the top of the screw is so wide, it's going to come over that piston. And we don't want to over tighten this because we want some movement, but at the same time we want that screw in nice. So actually that screw's just gone in as far as it wants to go, and there's still lots of movement, so I would say that's perfect. So let's try and get the orientation right. So that's how it's got it in the magazine, and then the finished part of the magazine, it's now got it this way round, and that looks absolutely spot on. Okay, so on to stage 63, and this is fitting the right suspension, and as you can see it's pretty much exactly the same, but there are a few more parts, so it's kind of issue 62 plus, premium version if you like. Okay, I've got a cat at my feet and a cat on the back of the desk. So we've got front shock absorber cylinders ×2, which are these. They look a bit like Lego pieces, just what it reminds me of. We've got 2 springs. You probably won't see these on the cloth because they're dark, but they are there. We've got another one of these front right shock absorber pistons. This is part number 3, so these are 2 of. 4 is pins diameter 2mm by 12mm times 4, so there they are. Piece 5 is another leaf spring, and this one, can't see it very well, but I think there should have been a letter stamped in there. Then we've got DP6, DP12s, there we go, and DD06s. So I feel like I'm accidentally rushing this. Right, so same as before, let's get our screws, one of our screws ready before we begin. Right, because we know what's going to happen. So we're going to line this up. So the pin is there, and the pin is there, and then once that's in, it should look the same. Do you know, that's off center. That's very off. So it looks good there. I can see why. No, I can't see why. But if you look at it there, it's very off, isn't it? I'll see how it goes, but I'm not totally happy with that. Is that because I've got a damaged part? Is the suspension damaged? But see, these are plastic, so there'll be a little bit of give with them. Right, so let's get the first screw in. Do you know, it's the hold? No, it's not. Yeah, it's this whole bit. Right, okay, let's get the other screws in. I haven't drilled that first one all the way through. I am a little bit... Do you know what? I don't think I've got that. Now I've got a couple of screws in. Can you see it straightening up? So I probably just panicked a little bit early there. But I don't think it hurts to check. Shadow mate, you're in my way. See, it's bad enough having one cat, but I've had to go one further and get two, didn't I? Right. That screws in fully. That one is now in fully. And then that one doesn't seem to want to go in. Now, do you know what? Look, I was panicking. Look, these leaf springs have gone in fine. Right, mister. You're a pain. Do you know that? You are a pain. But you are so loving. I'm so lucky to have you, you know. Right, so next step, we want to pop this in just like we did on that side. So that's going over like so. So you're making my life difficult. Do you know that? So I want one of these DD06s. It's a good job I lay my parts out, because then I know exactly where it is. Right. Have you seen my screwdriver, mister? I think you might be on it. No, there it is. Right. Oh, is this the one that I couldn't put on? Yeah, it wasn't. Right, so, where's that gone? Have you just hidden up one of my pieces? It's on there. I'm looking for a piece that's already on there. Right, so that screw's going in. And if I remember from the last one, I can actually screw this in as far as it will go, and it won't stop the movement on that piston. Ah, this one has, so I'm just going to back it off just a tiny bit. There we go. Bit more. I think also though, with time, I think that will just loosen up with, you know, as it's going to rub the paint off. Right, so that's that done. So now we have a moving the cat moment. I'm so sorry, because I need to work on the chassis. There you go, my good man. He's so heavy. So heavy. Right, sorry, I was just checking. I thought I'd done a bit wrong. Right, so we're looking for 2 holes there. And we need to pop this up through or into like so. So I'm only holding this, but you see where the wheel arch is? That's going to go in like so. And that's going to be popped in with a DP12 screw, which is another top hat screw. So does that suggest some movement perhaps? So I don't know the easiest way to do this. Come on, Shadow, I'm trying to do some work, mate. Right, so I've got to hold that in, and I'll just catch that with the screw. Once that screw's connected, it's obviously going to try and rotate the part. So we need to hold that part really tight. There we go, that's in nicely. So you see that that's there, and it kind of runs at a slight angle. Now logic dictates that we're going to do, oh right, so we need to turn the chassis over, and then we need to pop a spring inside of there. And then with, right, I've accidentally missed a step, which I thought I did. I actually want to do both of these. So I'm going to now work on the other side as best I can. Probably do the orientation differently from the magazine, but it's the opposite side. And you can understand why I need to do both, because I'm going to turn this upside down, pop a spring in, and then put something on from underneath. So obviously I don't want those springs to fall out. Right, this I'm struggling with. There we go. Right, so we're going to turn that upside down. We are going to pop a spring into each of those, like so. Then we are going to pop the steering assembly on, and I've got to get this orientation right. So we've got the springs on the bottom, we've got the wheels seem to be pointing backwards for some reason, and we need to identify fixing points there and there. So we haven't got screw holes, we've got tabs. Yeah, right, I'm sorry mister, you've got to move because I can't film with you there. Come on my friend, I love you so much, but we have times for cuddles. Right, so this is going to go in right. It might help these bits get in the way, so you come in underneath. And obviously the first question I'm asking is, does it look right? And I think it doesn't. I think it needs to go that way, because this bar there, it needs to point towards the front. Obviously the implications are when you put the wheels on, they're going to be in the right or wrong position. So this isn't part of the instructions, but let's see what it looks like with the wheel on. And that looks okay to me. Whereas if we had it the other way round, I know some people don't like me doing testing, but I'm doing this for myself. Right, so wheel goes on there. Yeah, that's definitely, yeah, I think it definitely is right to go that way. Okay, so having said that, I don't know if that's going to fit. Oh yes, and also I didn't notice these pegs need to go into where the springs are. So obviously if I had it the other way round, it just wouldn't fit. So you're actually hitting 6 different points at the same time. So, right. So we've got the back of the leaf spring goes there, the front goes there, but at the same time these pistons go in there, and that's going to create some suspension, which is quite exciting. And lastly, possibly lastly, starting at the rear end of the leaf springs, fit a pin 6303. There we go. This might get tricky, guys, because it's not the problem putting the pins in, it's getting the manoeuvring space. So we're going to start at the back. And saying that, this might be a lot easier than we thought. So don't lift this up at any point, because obviously it's going to pull the pins out from the suspension, from the springs. So I might have to wiggle that. There you go, that's gone in. That's gone in fine. So get me pliers. That doesn't want to know. Last time I did this, it kind of, it's in, but there's a little tiny bit showing on the pin. You know, I'm not going to worry about it. Right, so next pin goes in. So what you need to do is put the pin in just a little bit and then wiggle that suspension around. I'm catching the camera, I do apologise. And it's tricky because you can't see the hole because of the shape of the suspension. The hole's not quite where you would expect it. But saying that, that one's just gone in fine. Now this is going to be a lot harder to squeeze in because the exhaust is in the way, but I'll try my best. That's gone in. Don't know if you heard that click. That's in. Right, so that's the harder bits done, I suspect. So now we need to work on the front. And these can probably be put in without holding them with tweezers, because you see there's so much more working space. So look, this is what I've got without the pins. So this can come up and down. As long as the suspension's in, it's fine. Lovely, that's gone in really nice. But I'm going to put this last pin in before I squeeze them. And this little air tank is in the way a bit. There we go, that's just gone in really nice. That was a little bit easier than I thought, to be honest with you. Right, that pin is in. That pin is in. Lovely. So, that's nice. Very, very hard suspension, but there is some movement there. So that's enough. I mean, you don't want to be with it all the time anyway. Right, that is it then for that issue. And we've got the beginnings of some wheels now. So I'm going to do a quick mock-up, because you know me, and I'm only 37 minutes in for 3 issues. That is roughly what it looks like with the wheels on, and I'm rather happy with that. Right guys, so that's it. I haven't decided how many issues I'm going to do in the next video, but we are going to be doing rear air tanks. So yeah, really coming along now, isn't it? We're only adding small details, but each small detail adds quite a lot. I know I've said it before, that I think this might be becoming my favourite build. I think it is my favourite build. It's been such a good model. Anyway guys, I will catch you in another episode. Take care.